defense has really struggled as of late. What kind of opportunity do you see for the offense and for Bryce Young this weekend?
It's about us being able to show up and play our game. I think being able to be consistent, kind of build upon that last drive in particular, because that kind of gives you a glimpse of what happens when we actually execute and on the same page and we're making plays across the board. We can put together some drives, but it's always more about us than it is about anybody else. So that's our focus.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
What was the most impressive thing about that final drive?
I mean, I would think being able to chew up 7 minutes, 35 seconds on the clock to go 17 plays in any condition, I think is difficult in this league. I think people sometimes probably overlook that as if it's like everybody can do it. I does it all the time. I think being able to kind of have our guys be poised, there's no panic, no flinch. Also be great from a situational standpoint. It was great at the end of the game. We called a trap on third down. Chuba had a shot to go score, but obviously understand the situation in the clock to go down the 2-yard line and run the clock out, kick the game, win the field goal. That was probably the most impressive part as far as our overall understanding as an offense.
Piggybacking on that, like, what was that experience like for you going through that? And as you're heading into that drive, what are you thinking?
You know, my thought process going into it, one was we just got a turnover, so having a chance to end the game, at least be able to score points and put ourselves ahead. But it's very similar to Houston, thinking about the clock as we kind of got rolling, hit a couple plays. The clock is still running, communicating with Taves as far as what our thought process is, kind of moving down the field. But I think it's about had a couple mixed emotions when it comes to missed opportunities early in the game and the fact that we could have been doing this the entire game. To be honest with you, just my thought process, which is probably in the right frame of mind to be in sometimes. But I think just overall the understanding of our guys, what they've been through, them never flinching, never quitting, continue to compete, and find a way to win the football game was exciting for all of us.
What's the disconnect between being able to execute like that later on in the game and not finding that success?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think it's, too many guys just taking turns, having an MA here, having bad technique there. But also, again, it's the National Football League, so we're playing against some guys who get paid to play football as well. But it's more about us being consistent and being on the same page, down in and down out.
Did I hear you say that on the trap, Chuba actually went down when he could have scored?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Well, if you watch the tape, you can see him kind of put himself down the 2-yard line. That's not how Chuba normally gets tackled anyway. If you watch Chuba, he normally kind of falls forward. But we kind of communicate what we call a Rolex scenario in the headset to Bryce, which means that we want to save the time over scoring touchdowns if we have a chance to be able to get into the end zone. And so it was, I guess, somewhat of a dicey deal. 3rd and 3. They're probably thinking us playing us from a pass structure standpoint defensively, and had a chance to kind of end up creasing through the middle on the trap. And obviously Chuba did a great job of obviously O-line wise executing, and obviously Chuba understanding what mode we're in from a game management standpoint.
Did you call that a Rolex?
Rolex, yeah. So Rolex, expensive watch. Time is more important, so want to save the time. So that's kind of a Rolex deal for us. You like that? I thought you might. So
I apologize you didn't ask, but
That's
the
okay.
slow starts you guys have had with 7 straight games, no touchdowns.
you came at the right time. We didn't talk about that already, but I'm glad you brought it up. It's more. I talked about a minute ago about us being able to execute the way we did on the last drive, being able to have no penalties, really have no missed assignments, us throwing and catching, making plays across the board, and kind of being on a more consistent basis across the board.
Can you just the stages you've seen in Bryce's development since training camp, first 4 or 5 games, and just what have you seen at each one of those stops that kind of stands out?
It's continuing growth for him. I think being able to handle being as position as a number 1 overall draft pick, the expectations coming into it, kind of riding the wave, the highs and lows when it comes to things in the building, but also outside the building, which kind of compounds in the world of social media where everybody has a voice and everybody has answers on the outside. And him being able to be consistent when it comes to his approach has been very impressive, but what I would expect.
But is there any examples, though, in each of those steps that stands out, like what you saw his first quarter of the season versus the last right now?
Yeah, I mean, I would say just overall development when it comes to understanding how to play the position at a high level from a quarterback standpoint in this league, being able to be consistent when it comes to his footwork and fundamentals, but also understanding how they operate in and out of the huddle, using tempo, and communicating with the rest of his players. So he's been consistent in the entire process. So,
Thomas, you talked about building on that last drive.
Yeah.
What schematically did you really like, or even kind of the rhythm of your play calling that you might look to build off of?
Yeah, I mean, might be a surprise, but I call the same plays I, for the most part, call the entire game. Kind of mixing some things from a situational standpoint as far as how we marry some of the runs, hand off a jet sweep to a mirror off a run. We kind of run it probably 3 times that game already. But again, it's more about those guys coming to life, bringing the plays to life on the field, and making plays when the numbers will call.
You said the Rolex play package or whatever at the end of the game. Was it also of your opinion to wait and kick the field goal to end the game, or did you want to just punch it in?
Well, I mean, selfishly, you might want to go ahead and score. But we talk about overall just team ball and winning football games. It serves us better to not put the defense back on the field, give them no time at all to have a last second, who knows what happens, Hail Mary attempt, run the clock out, we end on our own term. They have no shot to win the football game. So that's something we kind of worked on starting back in March, but having a chance to kind of activate that in the Houston game, but also in the last game as well, kind of the same situation.
Smith-Marset has been getting more burn. I'm assuming that his speed is kind of an asset to you as you play call. Can you just talk about him getting more opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I think him being able to kind of earn his right from what he's done from a special team standpoint, but obviously every day when it comes to him competing, as you mentioned, obviously from a speed standpoint, but I think more importantly, he's one of the guys we have on our offense that can make guys miss. And so when it comes to creating plays for yourself, things aren't 100% perfect. He can maneuver himself, make guys miss, set up plays, and obviously bring the energy and spark to our entire offense.
Did Laviska's injury sort of get you guys thinking a little more along those lines with Amir?
Different players, so I think what we kind of utilize them in some ways has been somewhat similar, but I see them as kind of different guys from a role standpoint. But he's taken over some of the stuff that we had before with Laviska in that role package, but I think he's kind of coming to his own as far as what he's brought to the table for us.
Gabe Jackson, do you envision an increased role for him?
I think it's about being able to continue to rotate those guys to try to figure out who gives us the best shot to be consistent when it comes to the overall approach of O-line play from an interior standpoint when it comes to running the football, but also pass protection as well. So being able to have him give an opportunity to continue to compete to see who gives us the best shot overall.
Any chance for him to start this Sunday?
Still working through it.
When he got here, you called him a big guy who could move people.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that Sunday?
Definitely. I think, being able to kind of get into that groove and that rhythm, I think being able to have some more opportunities to get into that mode, get into the rhythm, but also sure some stuff up when it comes to pass protection as well for him. But I think, again, it's the day-to-day process as far as him elevating an offense.
Just a quick follow on Smith-Marset. Can he evolve into more than a gadget-type player?
Yeah, I don't see him as a gadget player. I think it's more about trying to find a role within the guys that we already have on the field. To spell some guys, but also give him a chance to kind of get the ball in his hands. But I think being able to he had a couple opportunities from a pass game standpoint to run some routes that ended up kind of didn't work out in that game. But I see him as an overall player, not just a gadget special teams guy for us.
There's been a lot of talk about lack of identity. Do you feel like this offense is finding an identity?
I think it's a week-to-week process as far as us establishing who we are. I think definitely in these last 3 games, it's kind of gotten somewhat into the mode of understanding how we kind of play from an early down standpoint, running the football, the marriage of play, action, pass, and movements kind of going with that. I think we're probably averaging close to 160 yards the last 3 games as well. So being able to kind of build upon that, but obviously continue to put ourselves in the best spot to have success.
4th and 1 in the shotgun. Can you explain that to me? Because, I mean, just as somebody who doesn't call plays, I just want to understand the rationale behind
Well,
that.
first off, just give me your opinion on what the issue is between.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it hasn't been successful
For us or just in general in the NFL?
for the Panthers.
Okay. Well, I would say as you watch across the league, you watch 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, there's a number of different options you have when it comes to being in the gun, whether it be a pass, being an RPO. And to me, for us, it's been less about that being the issue of why we haven't been successful, and more about individual getting beat at point of contact, getting knocked back in the backfield, or had a 4th and 1 a few weeks ago, and we had a receiver that was open and unfortunately kind of slipped and fell on the ground, which is can't really control that from that standpoint. But I think it's going to be a mix of us being able to put our guys in the best spot when it comes to under center our gun from a gun standpoint to affect and attack the defense to put us in better spots. I think we were.
You wanted to learn that.
I think against the New Orleans Saints were number 1 in the NFL on 3rd and 4th and 1. We had 7 opportunities. We converted 6. We missed one. And 2 of those were in the gun. So I think a couple of those were under center as well. So I think being able to build upon that and be able to put our together in a better spot is the overall goal. But us being able to be consistent when it comes to situational offense, whether it be in the red area, in short yardage, in 2 minute, it's about being on the same page and executing to the highest ability.
Back to the like first quarter or even first drive struggles. Have those struggles prompted you at all to kind of look at how you're scripting things and maybe that process?
Well, I think it's changed every single game. I think it depends on who you're playing. Obviously, that's not something we hunt up. That's not the overall goal. It's to struggle at the beginning of games. But I think being able to, again, continue to find ways to string together drives. Like I said, in particular, it's more about how we did at the end of the game, having a 17-play drive. We actually end up executing, having no penalty, having no mistakes. Is more about what it's going to take for us to continue to have faster starts.
Curious, too, just off the beaten path, your thoughts on Georgia not getting in the playoffs?
Oh, man. It's just, trying to dig up some old wounds. Well, I mean, listen, I'm obviously fully enthralled in my own issues here, so that's not my main focus, but I'm always going to be a dog for life. Obviously I'm biased. I think it's very difficult to go on that run and you lose the last game of the season, which is obviously SEC championship game, and completely get out of the playoffs. But, I understand it. I think Bama's probably the first team outside of the 6 ranked teams that kind of end up making the playoffs, which is rare occurrence. So kudos for Bama and those Bama fans. But definitely was disappointed about that for my dogs.